That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, that was the weirdest week of football that we are going to have in 2021. And it's honestly not even going to be close. I mean, when we recap this week, we're going to have to put a massive asterisk on here just for the record books. This was by apocalypse. This was also a week that you had so many injuries across the entire NFL. And we'll get into it in a little bit. But of course, before we dive into it, make sure you go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Just past 56,000 subscribers. Of course, thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting along the way. And you know what? We have to give away some Fantasy Flock Network hats. Let me go grab one real quick so I can show you all exactly what they look like. Okay, so here's the Fantasy Flock Network hat. Of course, you know we're going to go through, give away this hat to someone who went to the last video, left that like, left that comment. We do this every single video. I just want to give back as many hats as possible. Now, our first one going to be coming out to Matthew. Honestly, my friend, I'm not going to be able to go through and read this entire comment. Hopefully, it speaks positively of us. Now, our next one coming out to Aaron Brown. I can read this one. It says, I respect your grind. Keep up all the videos. Doing a great job. Thank you so much, my friend. And send me that email ASAP with your physical address so I can get you that Fantasy Flock Network hat. And I think that should be it. Of course, our rest of season rankings will be up to date over there on Patreon, most likely on Tuesday morning, so I can take into account the game that we will have on Monday night. And let's go. Let's recap this week. And the first lesson learned that we have is sometimes depth is extremely important in fantasy football. Sometimes fantasy football is not predictable in the slightest. And let me go through and let's rattle off the top 12 running backs that we have had so far this week. Now, keep in mind, this will change. I'm recording this during halftime of the Sunday night game, as well as we have not had the Monday night game either. So this top 12 may look a little bit different, but the top 12 running backs, you got DeAndre Swift at 1, not that much of a surprise. Damian Harris, Dearness Johnson, Brandon Bolden, Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, Myles Gaskin, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Gainwell. You have J.J. Taylor at running back 14, Devontae Booker running back 15, Samaje Perine running back 16, Ty Johnson running back 17, Devontae Freeman running back 18. This is unbelievable. I swear to God, we had nothing like this in 2020, nothing like this in 2019, nothing like this in 2018. I mean, other top 24 running backs include David Johnson and Boston Scott. Oh my, I don't know if we can take a lesson away from this. Maybe the lesson learned is, hell, let's go zero running back from now on. Or the lesson learned is the bipocalypse really hit us hard this year. I'm pretty sure that the NFL schedule makers came together and they went, you know what? We got to make sure that we get some buzz around fantasy football halfway through the season this year. How can we do that? And they went, it'd probably be a good idea to put Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, so many other players on bye during the same week. Let's watch them panic. Let's watch them squirm. This was disgusting. I don't know if we can take anything away from it. Please let me know down there in the comment section if you think that we can be altering our strategy going forward. But I just want to start this video off saying, what a week. I do not remember seeing anything like this in a very long time. I mean, even going over to the quarterback position, Tua Tagovailoa, our quarterback 1 of the week. I mean, at wide receiver as well, we have Khalif Raymond in the top 12, Alan Lazard in the top 12, Russell Gage in the top 12, Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver 13, Dante Pettis at wide receiver 14. Like, what happened? What happened this week? This is unbelievable. Let's stop talking about it in this context. Let's move to the players that matter. I'm just unbelievably surprised. Let's go to one of our first lessons, and this is you start DeAndre Swift regardless of the matchup. Now, of course, we already knew this coming into the week. I mean, with DeAndre Swift, this is someone that we talked about in this slide for a very long time now, that with DeAndre Swift, this is a running back that he is not dependent on his matchup. We have said this so many times before, but with DeAndre Swift, how does he generate the majority of his fantasy production? Why were we so excited about him coming into the season? A, because he's an elite talent, and B, because his role in the receiving game and the target share that he will have in this Detroit Lions passing offense will be through the roof, where he had 10 targets this week. So it doesn't matter that DeAndre Swift comes out. He only gets 13 carries, 48 rushing yards against a very good Los Angeles Rams defense. When he comes out, he has 10 targets, 8 receptions, 96 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. I mean, that's fantastic for a wide receiver one. I mean, if you get from your wide receiver one 8 receptions, damn near 100 receiving yards, and a touchdown to go along with it, you're jumping up and down. You would sign up for that every single week. Now, of course, a lot of this production came on that one big play to start the game, but that's kind of in the range of outcomes here with DeAndre Swift. When you know that he's an elite level athlete, when you know that they are going to be incentivized to try to get him in the open field so he can make plays. So DeAndre Swift doesn't matter if he's going up against one of the toughest defenses in the NFL because, I mean, he's not dependent on the touchdown volume. He's not dependent on his efficiency between the tackles or the volume that he can get in the rushing game. I mean, the main thing that he provides you from a fantasy football standpoint is the fact that this is a running back with a damn near 400 receiving yards so far through 7 weeks. I mean, right now, leading the NFL in receiving at the running back position. DeAndre Swift, that elite running back that we knew he was coming into the season. Very excited that we have him. Now, something that we got so wrong coming into this week is with Damian Williams coming back into the Chicago Bears offense. I was saying, you know what, Herbert, I know he had a fantastic week 6 performance. Obviously, he looked like that bell cow running back for Chicago, but this was an instance that you had him pretty much playing an every down role out as necessity, not necessarily the talent of the running back himself. I mean, we were looking at it going, okay, well, yeah, it doesn't really matter that he plays every single snap because, I mean, the week before, Damian Williams and him, they split damn near 50-50. That's going to be what we expect going forward. And I talked about it being in the range of outcomes that Herbert would expand his role after the impressive performance in week 6, given the fact that, I mean, he kind of proved that he can do it. Well, here you're going to be looking at Herbert coming out and seeing 51 snaps in this offense compared to Damian Williams having 11. This game was nearly unwatchable, but it didn't really matter when Herbert has 18 carries out of the backfield. He has 5 targets as well. I mean, he finished as a top 10 running back. He actually finishes with 18 fantasy points. Now he has 100 rushing yards. He has 5 receptions, 33 receiving yards to go along with it. This is a running back since the David Montgomery injury. If you're looking at the rushing category for himself, 75 rushing yards, 97 rushing yards, 100 rushing yards. And clearly Damian Williams has been completely phased out here, that if any week you see David Montgomery missing, it looks like you're going to have to be starting Herbert, because what's the floor case scenario here? The floor case scenario is, oh God, he's playing with one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL with Justin Fields. Whether you think it's Nagy, whether you think it's Fields, it doesn't matter. We can say this is one of the worst passing environments in the entire league, but they scored 3 points against the Bucs this week, and Herbert still managed to go out there and drop 100 rushing yards and have 5 receptions out of the backfield as well. I was completely wrong. I was saying that I was not starting him under any circumstance, given this was going to be a 50-50 backfield split. We were wrong about that. I mean, I don't necessarily want to say that we were wrong about the Tampa Bay run defense being the toughest run defense in the NFL, but we were wrong to assume that Herbert wasn't going to be able to overcome it. Looks like Herbert this next week, it's another tough matchup where he's going to be playing the 49ers. But I think you probably have to start him if we have no David Montgomery, knowing that Damian Williams simply is not getting really any looks in this offense. Now, speaking of someone that is not getting anything in his offense, and it's probably time to just go through and cut him off your roster. Obviously, this was someone that we talked about coming into the season being one of the most overdrafted players in fantasy. Happy that we do not have him pretty much in a single league. We have like 220 fantasy leagues, so we have him in 1 or 2, but that's nothing. Mike Davis. And here with Mike Davis, he comes out. He plays some snaps. He gets 38 snaps in this offense. But he has 4 carries compared to Cordell Patterson's 14 carries. He has 0 targets compared to Cordell Patterson's 4 targets out of this backfield. Clearly, Patterson has taken over as the feature down running back. Maybe it should have been expected coming out of the bye week that they would kind of just get together as a team, go, you know what? This Cordell Patterson guy right here, he looks just so much more dynamic than this Jag Mike Davis. We talked about him being a running back that was a journeyman throughout his entire NFL career. He bounced around to like 5 different NFL teams. No reason to assume that finally he breaks out at 28 years old in Carolina. I mean, we always knew that Mike Davis was not a talented running back. Apparently, Atlanta's just now finding that out. I think Mike Davis, probably a running back you can go through and bench if you don't feel like you need the running back depth. Now let's go over to the wide receiver position, and something that we've been getting some pushback as of late over there on Patreon is our ranking of our wide receiver 1 overall. At wide receiver 1 overall, we've had Davante Adams, someone that we loved coming into the season. I was advocating at one point to be drafting Davante Adams at 3 overall, ahead of some of those bell cow running backs that are currently crushing it. A lot of people have been saying, Mason, you idiot, we need to have Cooper Kupp here. Have you not noticed what Cooper Kupp's doing this season? I'm saying, okay, well, with Davante Adams, he's had like a 40% team target share. I think we still want to be going in the direction of Davante Adams based on what we had in 2020 as well. Well, it's about damn time to give Cooper Kupp his respect, to move him up to the wide receiver 1 overall. It's something that we should have done a couple weeks ago, but if you're looking at him, Cooper Kupp has yet to have a week this season with less than 10 targets in his offense. He has yet to have a week with less than 10 targets. So far, Cooper Kupp has more games with 30 or more fantasy points than less games than 30 fantasy points. If you would come out and you would bet $20 every single week that Cooper Kupp was going to be dropping more than 30 fantasy points that week, you would have been a profitable bettor off of a ridiculous line so far this season. Cooper Kupp has been dominant with Matthew Stafford, coming out 13 targets, 10 receptions, 156 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns to go along with it. I mean, his best performance of the season, but it's not by far and away his best. It's really tied with what he had against the Giants last week and what he had against the Colts back in week 2. Just Cooper Kupp has such a high floor and ceiling. He looks like Davante Adams from last season. Now, you're not going to be expecting Cooper Kupp to continue to come out here and drop 27 points per game, but there's no reason to expect that falls below 23 fantasy points per game. I think Cooper Kupp, he has to be wide receiver 1 here. We have to just kind of take our L. Davante Adams is no longer that player. Definitely is Cooper Kupp. And something else that we have to take our L with, coming into this past week, we were looking at this Cincinnati Bengals situation. We were going, okay, well, yeah, Jamar Chase is a fantastic alpha wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But if you're looking at the target volume that you've had from T. Higgins versus Jamar Chase, I would be looking to sell Jamar Chase high, buy T. Higgins at a significantly lower price point. And if you're looking at this offense, you have T. Higgins coming out, and hell yes, he gets 15 targets in a game where the Cincinnati Bengals blow out the Baltimore Ravens. But does it really matter? Probably not. When T. Higgins comes out and he only scores about 13 fantasy points, he is so far this week. Keep in mind, we're not through with the Sunday game. At the same time, we have not had the Monday game. This is a low-end wide receiver 2, directly behind someone like DJ Moore. Whereas Jamar Chase, yes, he does not get the same workload on this offense. He only has 10 targets, but Jamar Chase clearly has demonstrated that he is in a completely different tier when it comes to the talent that he has in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase, with those 10 targets, just dominates with 34 fantasy points this week. One of those plays was a big play that you can't necessarily expect to carry over week to week, but we've been saying that with Jamar Chase all season now. This is someone that so far this year is the wide receiver 4 on a points per game basis. He has 200 receiving yards this week. He has 10 targets, a receiving touchdown, and 8 receptions to go along with it. Jamar Chase is someone that you're just having to go through and jam in every opportunity that you have. And I want to go through and call him a sell high player, but I feel like it would just be very dumb for us to do so after he has showed us so far that he is Justin Jefferson from last year. You could make an argument that he's possibly better than what Justin Jefferson was a year ago. This is someone that's had 51 targets so far this year. So his targets per game, not even that high. He's sitting at essentially 7 targets per game, but it doesn't really matter when he has had 6 touchdowns off of those 51 targets. He's had 754 receiving yards off of those targets as well. So just looking at his efficiency, you would assume that he does regress slightly. You would assume that he comes down to earth, but at the same time, he's a rookie. Maybe he begins to get an uptick in his volume, just given the fact that he's been so efficient when he's targeted. They probably look to expand his role if they can get it any larger than it currently is. So 100%, you know that I'm going to be having T. Higgins on a buy low video again this week, given the production is there. He doesn't come away with the touchdown. So, it's not like the fantasy points were fantastic. But beyond that, it's going to be pretty hard to come out here in yet another week, try to convince someone to sell Jamar Chase. Now, someone I really hope you listen to me whenever we told you to go out there and buy him 2 weeks ago, buy him 3 weeks ago. We've been talking about buying him every single week so far this season. So I'm so happy to see the blow up performance. AJ Brown comes out here and dominates yet again. I mean, we had him ranked as an elite level wide receiver this week, given the matchup that he had against the Kansas City Chiefs. And at the same time, clearly this is someone that was looking dominant with the volume that he has had so far in Tennessee. And what have we said the entire year? With AJ Brown, yes, he started off slowly, but we knew that the opportunity was there when he was healthy, and that based on his efficiency, his rookie and his second year season, there was no reason to expect that AJ Brown all of a sudden became a significantly worse wide receiver going into year 3. He comes out this week in particular. I mean, he gets 9 targets in this offense. That's only 5 more than Julio Jones. Only 5 more. I mean, he completely dominates. Keep in mind, Julio Jones did only play 29 snaps. I mean, I'd assume that has something to do with the injury. But still, with those 9 targets, A.J. Brown has 8 receptions, 133 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown to go along with it. Extremely excited with what we have from A.J. Brown going forward. I think that he is that low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 that you drafted him to be. Now let's go over to a player that I actually told people not to draft coming into the season, but we flipped on a dime after we saw the opportunity in the first 2 weeks, and his value cratered. So we were saying buy low, buy low, buy low, buy low. Thank God that we did. Kyle Pitts coming out here and dominating this week. Kyle Pitts, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 163 receiving yards, looking like a grown-ass man out there while he's doing so. Even though just earlier this month, this tight end was 20 years old. Kyle Pitts is multiple years younger than me. That is unbelievable to think about. I mean, I can't fathom how this man is 6'6", 240 pounds, just beating down defensive players, defensive linebackers on opposing NFL defenses. But this is a player that at this point over the past 3 weeks, I mean, you've seen him pretty much average 9 targets a game as a tight end. That is unbelievable. So I really hope that some of y'all bought low on him coming into the year. Just say in week 2, week 3, that's really when you saw that low point at his price. But clearly with Kyle Pitts, I mean, this is not a traditional tight end. This is someone that's coming in. He was the best tight end prospect of all time. They're using him as that replacement from Julio Jones, as a lot of people that are smarter than me were saying that they were going to in fantasy draft seasons so far this year. So hopefully you either listen to those people and you drafted Kyle Pitts coming into the season, or hopefully you listened to us and you bought low on Kyle Pitts back in week 3. But regardless, Kyle Pitts, clearly that elite level tight end right now, most likely going to be jumping up to my tight end 4 in our rest of season rankings. Now, our next lesson learned is the Kansas City Chiefs are not the same offense that we believe them to be. I was coming out and every single week so far, I've been saying, oh no, just wait. Kansas City, they'll be back to what they were. This is an offense that the turnovers have just been at an incredibly high rate, which has been ending drives early. We know that the red zone opportunities will be there for the running backs. We know that they'll be there for Travis Kelce. Well, with Kansas City, I mean, not close to being what they have been. Now, I will say trying to take this information and act on it in fantasy is going to be a little bit difficult. I mean, essentially how I'm going to be using this is as a marker for what we are expecting for the running backs in this backfield. Whereas y'all know I was saying to start Darrell Williams everywhere coming into the week. I mean, Darrell Williams was a running back that I was advocating to be a low-end running back 1, given the fact that you had so many players on bye and injured. Darrell Williams comes out. He's the running back. Okay, he's the running back 41 on the season. Let me see what he actually was on the week. Okay, so with Darrell Williams, he was a running back 3 this week in particular. He comes out, doesn't have a workload that you wanted to see at all. He gets 5 carries, 3 receptions out of this backfield. But essentially what I'm going to be saying with this Kansas City Chiefs offense is you don't necessarily have to go through and just must start their starting running back, expecting the red zone opportunities to be there, because the trips to the red zone aren't guaranteed for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. as they were last season, as they were the year before that, as they were the year before that. It's a completely different season for Kansas City where they just look like they're not the same team at all. Of course, I'm still projecting Patrick Mahomes to be a top 3 quarterback rest of season. Of course, I'm still projecting Tyreek Hill to be a top 5 wide receiver. Of course, I'm still projecting Travis Kelce to be our tight end 1 the rest of the way. But outside of that, the running back position in particular, I think we have to be a little bit more wary of. Now, another offense we have to be a little bit more wary of is actually going to be the Carolina Panthers here. With Carolina, I mean, they have an easy matchup on paper against the New York Giants. And I was telling everybody to go play Chuba Hubbard. We were saying, okay, well, with Chuba Hubbard over the past 3 weeks, we've clearly seen that this is a running back that's going to be getting damn near every single touch out of his backfield. And I mean, over the past pretty much 5 weeks now, you're looking at 5 targets, 2 targets, 6 targets, 3 targets, 5 targets out of Carolina for Chuba Hubbard. You're also looking at the rushing attempts being there. He's essentially averaging close to 16 rushing attempts at the same time. I thought that this was someone that was a must-start option for us. However, in Carolina, it looks like the floor with Sam Darnold is a lot lower than we wanted to expect it to be, even in a very easy matchup against the New York Giants. So going forward, you have to definitely lower your expectations with Chuba Hubbard in particular, just given that this offense won't be nearly as productive as what we saw through the first 3 weeks. Now, thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please go down there, go to the comment section. Let me know the dumbest thing that I told you coming into this week. And of course, go check out our rest of season rankings over there on Patreon. Join Patreon, get access to our group chat, get access to those dynasty rankings, rest of season rankings, get a podcast breaking down your own fantasy football team, support this channel. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for supporting, and I hope to see you with the waiver wire video tomorrow morning.